On Monday, we told you that Facebook announced changes it's making to bolster the platform's election security. Those changes include clearer fact-checking labels, monitoring candidates' accounts for hacking, labeling state-controlled media, and banning paid advertisements that undermine voting and voter confidence. CEO Mark Zuckerberg acknowledged that his company should have done more to prevent interference from bad actors, but says he feels confident the social network can handle election security next year. Late Monday, Twitter announced it was planning a policy to address so-called deepfakes on its platform. CNET senior producer Dan Patterson recently spoke with Frederick Brennan, the founder of the message board 8chan. Brennan has since sold the platform and has been publicly critical of its use in anonymously spreading hate and racially charged messages. Brennan laid out how misinformation spreads online.
The biggest fake news stories, how it happens is they get their start on image boards. That's what decides what is going to be the most explosive fake news. And then, like you're saying, a bot operator or something like that in Russia or another country sees that this is a very explosive story that on first brush looks to even be true. It's going to require Snopes and others to really dig into it to figure out that it's not true. And by that time, it will be shared many, many, many times. So that bot operator can then just go on 4chan every day, see what are the top stories, and see which ones are most damaging for whatever candidate that they're against, and get those shared. That's just, that's just the way it is.
Dan Patterson joins me now. He's a CNET senior producer. Dan, really interesting to hear from Frederick Brennan there. Have you seen many examples of misinformation related to the election spread so far?
Yeah, in fact, just yesterday, Facebook announced that they had removed a number of what they call coordinated inauthentic activity. This is a euphemism for propaganda and fake posts designed to cause division. These weren't specifically targeting the U.S. election, but Facebook has said that there has been an uptick since the 2016 election. We see this across social media sites. So, yeah, in fact, when we look at tools that are designed to help us make sense of big data, when I say big data, I mean all of Twitter and all of Facebook, this is a lot of information. So we use tools that kind of visualize this and kind of help us look to see what bots are connected to which actors. And we certainly see this rise of Russian bots attached to political candidates designed, once again, to spread disinformation that uses divisive language.
Well, we know some of the ways Facebook is cracking down on the spread of misinformation, but is anyone working on stopping it before it actually gets on the platform?
That's such a great question, Elaine, and that kind of gets at what Frederick Brennan was talking about. There is a number of sources for misinformation. In fact, the New York Times during the 2016 campaign profiled a number of actual humans in the United States who found it to be a pretty good business model for their home business. But those cases are far less, they're far more isolated than when we see these coordinated attacks. So what Brennan detailed is some of these missing pictures of, it's one thing to disseminate a meme, but it's another thing to actually know how the images and the language resonate in our culture. You really have to be attenuated towards American culture to kind of understand the nuances.
Right.
So what Brennan is describing there is this process by which foreign agents, it's not limited to Russia, but Russia is one of the largest actors, will look at image boards. Now, he used that as an example because he ran an image board, but they'll look at places that are very viral. Reddit is another example. They'll take some of the most divisive content from there and then amplify it across mainstream sites like Facebook and Twitter.
So it really shows this level of sophistication is what he's describing in pushing this content out there. Last week, Hillary Clinton suggested that Russians were grooming a candidate for a third-party run. Is there evidence of that you've seen? Let's
be absolutely clear. The candidate she was referencing was Tulsi Gabbard, the Congresswoman from Hawaii. There is absolutely zero evidence that would suggest that Tulsi Gabbard is aware of coordinated inauthentic activity. However, there is a massive amount of evidence. Again, we can go back and look, and we use our data tools. I used them again this morning. We can see this elevated amount of bot activity around 3 particular candidates. And in fact, I spoke to Clinton's spokesperson over the weekend, and they did not identify candidates. They just said, you know, look around, you know, come to your own conclusions. What I found, I wouldn't call this scientific research, but I used tools that are used by nonpartisan organizations on the left and the right, and found a ton of bot activity from the Russians attached to Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders, and Andrew Yang.
Interesting. Well, on Wednesday, Mark Zuckerberg is going to testify before the House Financial Services Committee on Facebook's Libra cryptocurrency plans, and he'll likely face questions on other topics. So what can we expect from tomorrow's testimony?
Well, in fact, Zuckerberg released his statement earlier today, and they are particularly concerned about making sure that regulators know, hey, look, we're not going to go forward with our plans of using Libra without having the backing of other financial institutions and organizations. We can also expect them to address regulation in a number of different forms. I think that no matter what, you know, Sheryl Sandberg spoke earlier today about propaganda and misinformation, and there are other concerns with Facebook, but their number one concern is always going to be regulation, at least at this stage when it comes to rolling out Libra and other cryptocurrencies and financial services.
All right, we know you'll be watching Wednesday. Dan Patterson, Dan, thank you.
Good to see you.